مولاي صل وسلم دائما أبدا على حبيبك خير الخلق كلهم.
الحمد لله رب العالمين، الصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين وعلى آله وأصحابه ولبيته ومن تبع سنته أجمعين. فأعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. أرأيت الذي يكذب بالدين فذلك الذي يدعو اليتيم ولا يحض على طعام المسكين فويل للمصلين الذين هم عن صلاتهم ساهون الذين هم يراءون ويمنعون الماعون. صدق الله العظيم وصدق رسوله النبي الكريم والعاقبة للمتقين ونحن على ذلك لمن الشاهدين والشاكرين والحمد لله رب العالمين. Today we are going to read about Surah Al-Maun, which is 107 number surah in Quran now, and this is the 17th surah which was revealed upon Prophet Muhammad Sallallaho in his life. As we have to just to recap a little bit as the sequence of events are happening: Surah Alaq, Surah Qalam, Surah Al-Muzammil, Al-Muddassir, Al-Fatiha, Al-Masad, Al-Takwir, Al-A'la, Al-Layl, Al-Fajr, Al-Duha, Al-Shara, Al-Asr, Al-Adiyat, Al-Kawsar, Al-Takasur. We did these 16 surahs up till now, and today will be Maun, and 17th number surah in the sequence of revelation. And as we talked about that, these names are given according to Prophet himself chose to give them these names, or companions chose them to give these names. Most and surahs which I know are named in the beginning letters or the words, not the letters, just from the beginning words or something important on the topic of the chapter or the surah, what we call. Or this particular one has the last word in it as the name of the surah. Al-Ma'un means a minor things of each other, taking care or for the care for each other. So this is kind of a surah. Important to understand, there are two main topics here. One is about the disbelievers, the one who denied or who lied about the truth, and the other part is the worshipper. So first 3 verses were revealed in Mecca, last 4 verses were revealed in Medina, and there's agreement about it because the topic and the context of discussion is such. And the last year of or the life of Prophet, he arranged that this portion should go here and this portion should go there. So as it begins with this Al-Ma'un, which means the translation is, have you seen the one who denies the day of judgment? And also it could be revealed a little bit more detail, but this is the simple explanation or the translation. Have you seen the one who denies the day of judgment? It is who drives away the orphan with harshness. He does not encourage the feeding of the poor. So this was the Meccan portion. It was about the context and the situation. We will inshallah discuss more a little bit about it. The next 4 verses are, so woe to those who offer salah, which means prayers, on the salah 5 times prayer, but are neglectful of their salah, who neither observe the salah as it ought to be observed, nor observe it on its prescribed timing. Those who make show of piety but refuses to offer help to the needy. So you can see that at the end is the needy, the minimum need or the small needs of people. So in the first 3 verses, as we see that Ara'ayta allazi, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in the Quran have 2 ways of address when something is important to attention. And this is direct communication with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, is addressing to Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam, is saying that have you not seen the one who deny the deen, the bid-deen. Now there are 2 things about it. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, when he talks about a past event in the Quran, it says alam tara, have you not seen? And here ara'ayta alladhi, do you not see? So there's a person which is in reference to particularly talking about, or the general community attitude, the rich and the powerful and the strong people, the politically influential, the tribal chiefs, and the family matters so much that they overpower everything and they deny their godly commands. Deen could be Islam, Deen could be Day of Judgment, the day of that religion, because we know that everybody's living here every day and all days belong to God, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But this particular deen day is that day will be Islam, will be the day, that will be the day of Islam, means the day of judgment, the day of accountability, the day of recompense, the day of resurrection. So that is what is referred here, that the one who denies all these things. Do you not see the one who denies the deen? Means that God commands, Prophet, Islam, Quran, all the goodness which is there, he denies it, or he negates it, or he rejects it. So this is what is here. Kadhab in Arabic means lie. It means denial too. So means somebody spoke to somebody and lied in that. So the one who lie or deny the day of deen, because deen could be used in many ways, and kadhab means two things, either lie or deny. فَذَلِكَ الَّذِي يَدْعُو الْيَتِيمَ. So then he pushes away, harshly reject a poor or orphan. There was a particular reference here is that about Abu Jahl. He was one of the tribal chiefs, and he had control over the treasury of the Meccan people, or whatever government they have, their system of tribal rule. And he used to have the children's wealth when their parents died, the orphans. He used to have that. Somehow, this one child is narrated in one of the reference of the tafsir, that he came to him because he was so much in poor condition that he didn't even have clothes to wear on. So he came to Abu Jahl and he asked him that, give me my father's money so I could get myself, my family suffering. So he rejected him, he mocked him, and he just pushed him away, and everybody witnessed it. So there were people who were his friends and who were in the group of people, those hoodlums type of people who were just mocking because they don't have to worry about anything. So they picked the kid and they said, why don't you go to Muhammad? Maybe Muhammad Sallallahu will be able to get your money from Abu Jahl. Now, because they wanted to instigate a fight here, because they knew that Abu Jahl and Prophet ﷺ are not getting along and they're going to be a fight. But when this kid went to Prophet says, come with me. And he came and he told Abu Jahl, give this child's money which it belongs to from his parents you are holding. And when he saw Prophet, he, without much resistance, he gave the money to the child, or his parents' inheritance he was hoarding or holding on. And the people who thought that, Abu Jahl will be fighting and will be insulting Prophet or create a fiasco here. And when Prophet left with the child, they came and asked him, why did you listen to Muhammad? So he said, when I saw him, I saw two supporting guard with him. Had I denied him, they would have destroyed me. So I had to give it without, getting myself hurt. So this is how it's been narrated in one of the accesses or the summary. This ayah was revealed about this person's, he's a liar or he's a denier of the God, denier of the Prophet, denier of the goodness, denier of the people's material he took and he would not return back. And today is no different. A lot of people are in families, even Muslim families, they take the orphans' wealth and they do not treat them well. وَلَا يُحِدُّ عَلَىٰ طَعَامِ الْمِسْكِينِ. And then he does not encourage people to feed the poor, the hungry, the destitute. And this is one of the things which was the job of those tribal people when people are in power. As you could see in Pakistan and India and other developing countries, the rulers are living so rich life, yet the same nations, people who are poor and destitute, are dying of hunger. You can imagine that a person as all these Muslim or developing country, I would say for that matter, that they are poor and hungry. People are going hungry. They're sleeping without food. There's millions of children who are dying and they don't even have one-time meal a day. And yet here we have a refrigerator who are overflowing with the food and we do not think of them. And we do not encourage them. وَلَا يُحِدُّ عَلَىٰ طَعَامِ الْمِسْكِينِ. Often you hear that people ask for the food and they ask for charity, and other person say, oh, don't give them because we know that they are taking money out of it. But we do not even know that. Yet we say that. As you see that people ask for masjid donation, people say, oh no, these people are just going to waste the money. How do you know? Because I've been in masjids all my life. We really never had enough money to take care of anything. How could a person steal money from them? There may have been cases, I'm not saying there's none. But we are really not Muslim majority. Muslims are not like the other people who have been picked up for stealing people's wealth or whatnot. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is reminding these three characteristics: the one who is a denier, the one who is harsh and rejectful to the orphans, and the one who is not feeding the poor and needy and destitute. Three attributes. You see that this matches the Meccan life, where the culture was basically might is right, and if you are related to the powerful, you are get away with everything. Yet when the poor, and the other day I saw a video, a Pakistani woman was beating a 11-year-old girl, and she was their servant, and everybody was beating her up, and now police is going to take action, and they've recorded, they've witnessed it. Besides that, as we see in those countries and all over the world, there's a child abuse, child labor, child molestation. All these things are happening, and there's nobody to look after. And these children are human, and we do not have respect and honor for them. And this is what the religion is saying. And in Islam, and we'll read in different places in the Quran how strongly it has been condemned that a child and orphan, particularly girls, were also more sensitive and more victim of these violence, and particularly they were taken, abused and raped, and their wealth and value was possessed, and they were given low quality returns when they grew up, that your parents left this for us and we just kept you and fed you, and this is what is left over. So they were so many dishonest activities they were doing. After Islam, what happened? After Islam, there are narrations. What happened is that when a poor or a orphan was with them, they would not even take their food to share with them. Then another revelation came in: you can eat with them, because they were afraid that if they will eat their food, it is as if you're feeding your stomach with the fire. So this was the harshness was about it. الذين يأكلون أموال اليتامى يأكلون النار. Those who eat the left, the belonging or hoard or steal the wealth of the orphan, as if they are feeding their stomach with the hellfire. So this is how harsh it has been. So we have to understand that Islam calls for equality, justice, care, acceptance, honor, and feeding the poor and needy. Never ever reject anybody who asks. Now Prophet ﷺ said something very beautiful. He said, give the one who comes on his feet walking, also give the one who comes on a horseback. So what does it mean? The person might be having enough value or wealth that he has a horse to ride on that, but we do not know what is their inside family situation or home story. So we should not be judgmental. Islam stops us from being judgmental. Just if somebody asks if we can help, we should help. But if we cannot help, then, and if we don't feel comfortable, politely, respectfully, kindly say, I'm sorry, I cannot do this. Go somewhere else. But it doesn't mean we should encourage the hand paddling, like when in Pakistan or India you go, when you're driving into the car and you find that there are kids running to your car when you stop at the red light, and they jump on your car and they started begging, and they are actually professionally beggars. Islam does not encourage begging. So the poor and needy and destitute is different from a beggar or panhandlers. This is two distinctions have to be done. Sometimes it happens that people have a nature in our families. We have always noticed, and we would have known in our growing, that there one family relative who is always needy, who always is failing, who is always not very successful, and whenever they try, they end up having the wrong end of the deal. So what we are supposed to do with them is that we should treat them kindly. We should still treat them respectfully. We should also turn them away with a very polite way. But we are also obliged to take care of our family. So when a person in our family comes in, we should take care of them to the point where they should not be begging again. And I remember, it's not the time to discuss it, but Karim Mamu took care of his younger brother, Rahman Mamu, and all the other brothers and sisters. And he apparently never got anything in return. As an elder brother, he became a father. And this is how the culture was. This is how our religion makes us to be. Without expecting a return, we take care of each other, and we should be kind to each other. And this is what the Prophet says: when you take care of a family and loved ones, it is double reward, which I mentioned before. One is for doing the good, the hasanat. Second is the blood relation. So these two rewards come to the person. Now, next verse coming is about the 4 verses are about woe to those who are worshippers. Now, these are the people who are saying they are Muslim, because this portion was revealed in Medina, and by context we know that when the first 3 verses were revealed, prayer was not obligatory. It was not at that time, but the prayer became obligatory when Prophet migrated to Medina. The Prophet used to pray, and Muslims were praying, but they were praying two rakat, 2 units, 3 times a day, morning, afternoon, and night. But 5 times prayer became obligatory after he had the Miraj. He went to the heavens, and that's where Allah gave him a gift of 5 times prayer. So this portion matches with that description. The woe to those who worshippers, the one who's forgotten their prayer. Now, not forgetting in the prayer, who have ignored and negligent about their prayer. In other words, a person while in the prayer forgets. Sahun means the ignorant or negligent, or it also means forgotten. So, an salat, not min salat. An salat means about the prayer. So then I remember my childhood, when we were in Pakistan, everywhere we get azan when you drive and walk in 5 times prayer. There's so many masajid. And we would walk away from the azan as if it is not for me, somebody else is being called. But when I came to America, we realized there is no azan. We cannot even hear azan. Most of my life I haven't heard azan outside because they are not allowed. Here, it is the reference to those who have negligence about their prayer. So when a prayer call comes, we are supposed to go do the prayers. So this is also a obligation that whenever Muslims make prayer time comes, wherever they are in gathering alone or together, they should make adhan, because the adhan makes the shaitan run away from the place. So this is why azan is done. And also azan is done in this time of calamity. It is being noticed that when the thunderstorm coming or hail warning or storm coming, people should make adhan, and that adhan relieves the calamity. Like epidemics are happening, one should make azan in the calamity and epidemics. That brings Allah's mercy and make the shaitan and the illness or sufferings go away. So when baby is born, what we do? We do azan in the one ear and aqama in the other ear. So whenever we are together, we should do the adhan and aqama and perform salah and announce the prayer, so that all who can join should join the prayers. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying, the woe to those worshippers, those who are negligent about the prayer, not in the prayer. In other words, while we are in the prayer, sometimes we forget where we're reading, forget about what we did and not. So it is not about those, because once you are in prayer, shaitan comes and whisper and try to distract us. There is a particular shaitan, he comes and get into yawning is one of the things. So one of the hadiths of Prophet is, when you yawn, you should cover your mouth. Physically, you block something coming into your body, like a fly or some insect or a virus, and otherwise it also stops that shaitan from coming in. So try to do that. If you get yawning, people think it's not social or not respectful when you yawn and you don't cover your mouth. So allazina hum yura'un, and they pray just to show off. Like when they are in people, they pray. When they are alone, because they don't really love and fear Allah, so they don't pray. They think it's just for public gathering, we have to stand up and pray. So the prayer is something personal. They see Islam is, one of my friend asked me, is Islam an individual or a collective religion? I said it is individual as well as collective. Individual is the belief and the creed, and when you are privately alone and you do not commit sin and disobedience of God, and publicly when we get the fasting, we get the Eid, we get the Salah, 5 times call, Ramadan, all these things are collective. So Islam is a collective, is a community faith as well as individual faith. Unless you have an individual faith, you cannot be part of the community, and if you are in the community, you cannot act outside the commands of Allah. So this is obligation, and the Friday prayer is commanded in the Quran that it should be performed in the gathering. وَيَمْنَعُونَ الْمَاعُونَ, and also the one who stop people from doing a minor goodness or minor things of need. In other words, as minor as any need from your neighbors asking for salt and pepper and something. In other countries, people live very close, so they just can ask because they are very friendly neighbors and they know each other. And big as somebody helping, needing a charity. So this includes from all the way from the biggest favor to be done to the minor and minimum need of a person, like somebody asking for you a plate, or somebody asking you for a dish, the guests are coming, or asking you for some utensils for the household use, for their needs, and sometimes it becomes such that this verse is actually notifying people who do not even do a minor little thing for each other, and that little thing is a sadaqah. So they are preventing each other from a minor thing of a goodness to make somebody's life easier. So this is what इसको उर्दू में कहते हैं, जो बरतने की चीजें हैं ना उनको भी नहीं करते. यानी बरतना होता है, I mean it is like, you know, if you ask me for a pen and I have a pen in my hand but I do not want to give you, you have to just sign your name or date on it. So this is what people are so miser at times, that they don't even want to do that little minor thing which will have no effect on you. Sometimes when people give a little thing to other person, they keep watching and looking, making sure that that person does not return, or it returns it back. So these minor things, we should not be, somebody needs sugar, somebody needs a little salt and pepper, as little as this one, and sometimes you need major favors. So this includes that we should be forthcoming and giving. Why? Whatever we will send forth, Allah will save it. مَا تُقَدِّمُوا لِأَنفُسِكُم مِّن خَيْرٍ تَجِدُوهُ عِندَ اللَّهِ. Whatever you will send forth for yourself, you will find it with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, Aqimu salata li zikri, establish prayer for my remembrance. Here Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying, woe to those people who pray, but they pray just not because they believe and they have a faith. They believe because of showing others, and they often are negligent about their prayers. So this is what is said, the 5 times prayer is obligatory. One cannot pray 3 times or 2 times and think that he can or she can get away with it. Only women are given relief when during their period that they are allowed relief. This is such an important prayer act of worship. Only women are given this relief. Even a person who is sick, cannot stand, should pray sitting. If they cannot pray sitting, they should pray laying in the bed. If they have a locked-in syndrome, a neurological condition where whole body is paralyzed, a person cannot perform prayer. It is been said that they should, or they are only able to move their eyelids. So they should perform prayer with the movement of eyelids. You see how important it is. And the worst situation a person could be physically is a person in the battlefield. Even that time their prayer is not excused. A person should perform prayer. If they can, they should make a wudu, ablution. If they cannot make a wudu because of lack of water or because of a health serious illness, somebody who is bedbound or injured, they should do a tayammum. Tayammum is done very simply. I will tell now. Take a incombustible product such as rock or a little stone or something, and you take both hands, you make the intention always. I'm making the intention of tayammum. Tayammum means a dirt purification. You take the hand, you thump it, clap it, and then you take on the face and put it there. Then you take second time, thump it, clap it to get the dust off. You do like this way, going this way and coming up this. Then you take this hand and you go this way and you're doing that. This completes the tayammum. Now this is sufficient for a bath and for a wudu. Ghusl is a complete bath, shower, and the wudu means ablution. So once a person finds water enough to make ablution or able to do that they can do. The major purity, which is ghusl, which is a bath, whenever they have accessibility, they can take a bath full body and that will complete. And a person who have taken a bath or ghusl does not need to do wudu at that time, because that fulfills their 4 parts need to be washed. Face, hand, and the scalp, and the feet. So these things supposed to be done. 3 at least are more important. Gargling the mouth, face wash, massage. So these things are done as a completion of that. If somebody forgot to do that, they have to do the other one. You know that we gargle mouth, we rinse the nose, then we wash the face, then we wash the elbows, and then we go in the scalps, cover it. Apparently this area, when we rub it with the wet water, it decreases the anxiety and depression. It calms the brain down. And then we wash the feet up to the ankles. And Prophet says, make sure your elbows do not let dry the edges here. And the feet, heel should be not let dry. They are in fire. This is what he instructed. So wudu, and you do not need more water than this much. This much water is enough to make wudu. Why? Because you need to wash it one time is obligatory and 3 times is a sunnah. So anyhow, if you have enough water to drink, do not use it for the wudu. If you have only enough water to do some important cooking and things, you don't need to do the more of that to save the water. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is talking about these things. So we discuss wudu, we discuss the salah. So here Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying, woe to the worshipper, but in other place Allah is saying that worship. In one place Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is commanding us to give the charity and sadaqah and help people, but Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala on the other saying aqawlun ma'rufun wa maghfiratun khairun min sadaqatin yatbuha adha, that a kind word is better than a charity followed by insult. So you see how things are comparison here, that Islam requires a good civil human relation rather than just thinking they're giving the money out, and money can wash the sin. Prophet says, whenever you make a sin, do a good deed. It will wipe out the sinful act. So this is important to believe that what is in behind this concept? Allah is watching. When I did wrong because of my human weakness, God will forgive me if I do the good for love of God. So this is how we should treat and trade with everything in the life. As you were earlier talking about, there's a cash which you get from the good thing you do. So you cash into these things by annihilating. You had a debt and you pay the loan. You have a debt, you pay the loan. Salah could be the way, a kind word could be the way, taking care of that the way, and just nice, kind, polite behavior. So if you cannot do much, at least be nice and kind to each other. This is for the human relation to each other. Now with this, I'll conclude this Surah Al-Maun, and next Surah is Surah Kafirun. Any question and concern about this, what we discussed, any comment, or should we proceed with the next one?
Any significant why it was revealed in two places?
Okay, the first, so we could see that the first 3 verses were revealed in Mecca because the culture and society of Mecca is really out of control. There is just might is right. People who are so rude and obnoxious and not kind and caring. There was a social anarchy. So these verses describe those people who are in authority, who were anti-prophet, anti-Islam, anti-God. They wanted to just have their might and their control. So it was about their character. Their character was a liar, disrespectful, harsh, and negligent, and not taking care of each other. The second portion talks about, because now in Medina, there are people who are hypocrites and Muslims. In Mecca, there were no hypocrites. There were 2 groups. One who are believer, one who are disbeliever. Kafirun are the disbeliever, and Mu'min and Muslim are the believers. But when they came to Medina, some people who thought that now Islam is kind of a pressure on us, many people have become Muslims, so out of just hanging out and not to pretend that they really are not believer, in their heart they really had a doubt about religion, about the Prophet, about the Quran, about the whole thing. But because people were there, so they wanted to pray just to show off. So they were really negligent. When they were alone in their private life, these were called hypocrites, munafiq. They really, had they really believed in God, they would have prayed every time. They would not be standing up like, oh, it's hard. As another place in the Quran, it says when they get up to pray, they get up like, what a burden it is. Rather than love of God and believing in that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is my Lord, my God, I am doing it to please and worship Him. Because turning to God 5 times prayer, what does it do to God? God does not need our prayer. The prayer is basically for our belief affirmation and to get the blessing, to get our spiritual and physical activity and cure and improvement and elevation. So once we remember God, we should not be doing things which we do without being a negligent, like hurting poor, weak and needy and hungry. We will have some sort of a kindness. Actually, there was a question about, there was a man was asked about from a scholar. He said, who should I choose for my daughter to be married to? He said, choose a person who have a fear of God. When he is angry, he will not be harsh to her. If she is not kind to him, he will still respect her. So the person who fear God, who believe in God, who believe in Islam and who is conscious of God would be always aware of this. And those people who are standing physically showing that they are performing prayers, yet they really do not believe in it. So if you're not, something is done without being your heart in it, Allah does not need our prayer. We do prayer for ourselves. Yes.
Hi, Sallallaho. You were saying that women were relieved from prayer when they're on their period. My question is, does like doing tasbih or any of those things still, are they valid? And then I know it's like you can't touch the Quran when you're not in a state of purity. So how are we, because for me what I'm learning is like I lose the habit and then it's hard for me to get back on track.
No, you
so
can.
What I'm asking, are there any practices I can do when I'm on my period that are valid?
Yes, you can invoke the name of Allah, that is tasbih.
Oh, do I have to have wuzu to do that?
No.
Okay.
You can send salawat upon Prophet, that's a tasbih.
Okay. So I just recite those, I can recite those things in order to just keep the pattern going during that time.
Yes, absolutely. See, you are not forbidden from remembering God. It is the obligation, which is the prayer, which is relief for because of their physical hardship, and a lot of women have a PMS and other illnesses and whatnot, when they feel not up to par to do the things, and they are sometimes, they get emotional and all that. So they are given a physical relief for that reason, if you see the medical concept of it. The other point is that because of the bleeding is anywhere we have in the body, that breaks the wudu. So when the people having blood in the body, then they are just not feeling good enough to be considered to worship. So this is a relief rather than a prohibition. It's not a prohibition. It's a relief for the physical condition.
So I can still go on my janamas, I can still touch the Quran, I can still do wuzu.
Beautiful question. Umm al-Mumineen Aisha radiallahu anha, Prophet was in itikaf in the Masjid al-Nabawi, and he asked her to give me the prayer rug, and she said, I am with the period, and he said, it's not on your hand.
Okay.
So this means
Also, Shahid, I think, but I have also learned that anything, if you have you have memorized like short surahs and all tasbihat, you can do that,
No, tasbihat could be done. Quran is not to be read as a flow. In a flow.
You can
Like,
Quran, but you have memorized surah.
yeah, sometimes it is in your heart and you say those surah. So what you should do, that the way this is, again, I do not know more about it except that a scholar says a person who is in a state of menstrual cycle, if they have memorized Quran and they want to read, they should read as a broken surah, not in a flow surah. Like Alhamdulillah.
Got it.
Lillahi, not the Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen, Alhamdu. So this become Hamd. Lillahi, for Allah.
Praise it.
So praise, you can do the zikr of Allah, but not in a continuous flow with the pausing. So they become zikr and tasbih rather than a full-blown act of worship.
Sure. Okay, that makes sense. That's helpful.
Okay?
And also you can make as much dua you can,
Absolutely. Again, this is to be taken as a relief, not as a punishment. This thing is not a punishment. It's a relief from obligatory prayers. Even the fasting is not to be repeated, but fasting is to be repeated if a person has to miss the fasting, but salah need not to be repeated. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is given a break, in other words, to a person in this aspect. Okay?